Welcome to Green Screen Theater! Welcome to Green Screen Theater. Oh boy. Hello! I am here for the Skyrim Book Tag. This is a tag originally done by Deanie, and I was tagged by Steve Donoghue. Definitely not Gamer Dude. And I was attracted to the tag because Deanie was trying out her green screen setup for the first time. And I fell down a rabbit hole of I want to do a homemade green screen. And how hard will that be? That'll be very hard. And as you can see, I was obviously bitten by a radioactive spider in the middle of doing this. And now I glow green. Doesn't have anything to do with my complete technical ineptness, but this is what we have. This is my green screen. I want to experience the full gamut of video making experience. So I'll be able to have ticked off and then probably put aside the green screen monstrosity that this is, unless I go out and chunk up like $6 for a proper green screen versus getting poster board. Oh, you probably saw my green hand there. All right, so yes, Skyrim Book Tag. Deanie is a gamer, and this is based on a video game called Skyrim, which I have not played. For my bona fides for video games, just to start off with, I watched my wife play the Legend of Zelda games up to about 2002 Wind Walker. And the only other connection I have with video games, other than playing them very short amount of time and then getting bored and wandering off, is I was a minion. I was an evil minion. Well, I was actually an evil subcontractor minion and delivered laundry to Electronic Arts Vancouver. Yes, I have a dark and hidden past of delivering laundry to the evil overlords of the well, actually I don't even know if they're overlords anymore, of the video game industry. So yes, judge me as you will. It was a paycheck. So yeah, let's get on to the actual questions. While I glory in my green screen goodness, maybe I could go over and visit Steve at his I can go over and visit Steve at his library. Or maybe I could have my own library of just penguin books. I can push Steve out of the way and just have my own penguin library. Though actually, I prefer to have the orange spine ones. We'll see if I got the pictures for that. All right. So yes, let's actually get to the questions of the prompt, because this could go on a while. Question number 1. The Dragonborn can absorb souls, breathe fire, soothe wild beasts, and so much more. What character do you think would be capable of anything? So for a character that could be capable of anything, I could go back to like my kind of science fiction days and pick out something of Robert A. Heinlein. He has a lot of characters who can do anything. Neil Stephenson has those. A lot of science fiction books that have a lot of dudes with they can do anything. But actually, I am going to pick Madame Max Goesler from Anthony Trollope. I think she's first introduced in Phineas Finn, and she is an amazing character who can indeed do anything. And then in that book, she has a relationship with the old Duke of Omnium, and actually she can do anything, or she can choose not to do anything. And I found that incredibly admirable and just an amazing woman. So that's going to be my answer for question number 1. Question number 2. Lydia is sworn to carry your burden. Who is the most annoying side character? For most annoying side character, it's my go-to. It's the one I always think of. It's the one that ruined a series for me that I'll just never go back to it. And that will be Christopher Moore's Abby Normal, a teenage girl that he has in this his vampire series, the Love Bites or Love Sucks or something like that series, where I don't find the lead characters particularly that endearing, but I find Abby Normal, this teenage girl, all I can hear is the author, who I think is sort of around my age, kind of doing his best teenage girl, and it sounds very much like a middle-aged guy or older guy doing a teenage girl, and that that was the final stake through the heart of that series for me. I never did actually continue it. I read it. I was incredibly ranty. There's some books that get you so angry, that just get you so ill-tempered, that it's like you're a pain to yourself and to others. And so I stopped. But now I still complain about it. So yes, that's my answer for question number 2. Question number 3. Did someone steal your sweet roll? What is a delectable food from a book you'd like to eat? So for this question, there's a couple of foods that come to mind. There's the Madeleine from Proust, In Search of Lost Time, because at the beginning of that book, there's this whole thing of kind of a sense memory of the narrator, Marcel, bites into a Madeleine, and suddenly just all his childhood, all his life kind of unspools before him, and you get seven volumes of goodness. And I ate a Madeleine, and it was okay. It was okay. The only other things that it kind of puts me in mind of are some memoirs. Ruth Reichel, Good to the Bone. Though funnily enough, in that book, the thing that I remember the most is that she hung out with these people who were very much into kind of anti-food waste, and what they would do is they would dumpster dive for their food. And they did that for a Thanksgiving dinner, and it was amazing. It was gross. There's a kind of a level of Russian roulette to it. And funnily enough, the other story of food that kind of comes to mind there is Lars Egner Travels with Lisbeth, where this was like him, like 3 years on the street and on the road and on the street, or vice versa. And it was, he refused to beg for money, or he couldn't go into a shelter because he was traveling with his dog, Lisbeth. And that he kind of developed kind of a technique of, not developed a technique, but basically there's just an amazing little section in here, which actually I think is the kind of the germ of where the book came from, of talking about dumpster diving and like what to dumpster dive for, what things were safe, what things were perhaps going to, make you horribly ill or perhaps kill you. And I really remember those food descriptions, which are funnily enough both about dumpster diving, even though I am, unlike Steve, I love my food. I just went to Italy, and the pigeon and the trippa was delightful. It wasn't trippa pigeon, it was just pigeon, and then it was trippa. And the deep fried artichokes. At this Jewish restaurant was just amazing. So I do not want my food in a pill form. I do not want a lambus bread unless I am starving in Mordor. I'll take it then. But other than that, I want full course meals. I want beautiful, luxurious, lovely food. Oh yes. And then I guess I want to know how to dumpster dive them if I need to. Question number 4. Took an arrow to the knee. What character do you think would be most likely to get randomly injured? For that question, I'll have to go with Doris Copeland from Our Doris by Charlie Heathcote. I just read this, and indeed, Doris does get randomly injured. Yeah. See, she has a quite random injury, which was like, that's what happens when you mess around with Swedish technology. Question number 5. Aedra versus Daedra. What is the most interesting force of good or evil or otherworldly source of power that you found in a book? And for this, I really do not like absolute evil or absolute good in books. The Wheel of Time series, I bounced off the first book because, actually the good guys were kind of written in an interesting way. The bad guys were just straight mustache twirling assholes. And I did not care about them. They didn't appeal to me at all. So this, I will swerve over into the literary and go with The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, in which there's a real examination, because at first I thought about the father, Fyodor Karamazov, and just how his neglect and his just kind of real nastiness kind of infects his sons. But then you go into the sons, and there's the nihilism of, there's the kind of religiosity, There's a lot going on there, and it's a really good examination of the source of kind of evil or of evil in our lives. Yeah. So I would go with the Brothers Karamazov for a really good exploration of that. Really, not some evil dark overlord hanging over us all, but no, everyday life. What you do, that is, how you potentially fall into evil. Number 6, Tamriel is full of double crossers. Who is your favorite deceitful or suspicious character? And, for that, I could go back to the Brothers Karamazov, Smirnikov, all my pronunciation, who is kind of the bastard son in that book, and indeed does his best to wreak ruin on the legitimate sons in that book, and on the father himself. Or, an Iago from a kind of a Shakespearean thing. But I'll go with Miss Danvers from Rebecca. She's the maid in that book, and she's got her own motivations for tormenting the main character of that book, and I think she does quite a good job, and she's got interesting, twisty reasons why, very human reasons why. I think Steve talked about in this tag about how a lot of characters who just they're not deceitful, or they're not good at double crossing. And I thought probably Miss Danvers was actually a good example of someone who was, and for really recognizable reasons. So yeah, I'll choose her. I'll choose Miss Danvers for that one. Number 7, The Lusty Aragonian Maid is the hottest book ever written. What is your favorite romance in a book? It's funny. There's 2 ways I can go with that. There's like young love, where it's kind of the thing that tear jerks me the best. Tear is I could go with young love, where I think of His Dark Materials, the original trilogy with Will and Lyria, and just like how their relationship ends in that book. I don't know how it does. I haven't gone on to the other books, the next trilogy, sequel, prequel, quadriquel, whatever, but just how that one ends, and it's unrequited love, and it's like, that's that kind of thing. I think what actually I'll go with is Kristen Lavensdatter, with Kristen, the titular character, and her romance with Erland. It is hot. It is a passionate young love affair, but then the book continues on, and you get to see the full ramifications of that relationship, and how complicated and bitter and fruitful and terrible and just painful and that relationship is. So I'll go with that. I will go with that. That's I don't know if it's being a 50-year-old guy, but it's like I like it when a book now has the young love, hot romance, but it also has everything else that happens after it, and the difficulties and the complications, and how that tests a character, and can deepen that love, can make it, it's life, man. It's life. Holy crap. So it's hot, but there's more to it than that. Question number 8. Stealth Archer is the obvious and most practical character build. What type of character do you think is the most useful? And give an example. It's the person who is the characters who are quiet and thoughtful. I'm in the middle of reading the Thomas Cromwell books, which are all about Thomas Cromwell, who is sort of the chief head guy with Henry VIII, who helped him out with getting out of his early marriages, who closed the churches, is a very kind of cold, ruthless character. Also, Mantell does a really good job of mixing that, complicating that with his very kind of human side. But the thing about Cromwell is he's very still and he listens. And Mantell imagines a man who had to learn to be like that as a child, which I guess I find the most appealing and human kind of portrait of a person that you can get of someone. It's like he developed these skills very early on to survive an abusive father, and is using them for good or ill, probably both throughout the novel. So yeah, I'll go with that. Thomas Cromwell, a lawyer. Oh my God, you know. That's terrible. That's terrible. Yes, lawyer. That's what I'm going with. You Better Call Saul. Oh, talk about another lawyer. I guess apparently I have a fondness for lawyers in my fiction, even though I probably don't in real life. Yeah. So we'll take that for the lawyer character. Number 9. There's more to the world than just humans, elves, Khajiit, Agornian, and more. What is your favorite fantasy or sci-fi race? I'll probably go with probably a pretty easy one. I'm pretty sure other people have picked it. It would be the Tynes in the Werner Vinge's Fire Upon the Deep series, which are kind of these canine-like creatures who one person is like 4 to 8 actual creatures all combine to become one, to form one personality, one person. And what creatures, parts of them can die and get replaced by other ones, and thus they can live for like hundreds of years as a collective personage. And their personalities can change over time because of the different creatures who different dog-like beings that get taken up, who gain dominance and stuff like that. And it was just like, it was a really good alien, something that was like different from, it's just a person with a little bit of plasticine on their forehead or something like that, or pointy ears. No offense to Star Trek, you know, they're dealing with they were dealing with their own budgetary restraints, and I respect that. But it was a really good depiction of like, this is an alien race. Other ones would probably be Le Guin. She's done things with like genderless races and stuff like that. Really good thought experiments of working within kind of more of a human framework, but trying to come up with different ideas of how we could organize ourselves as a society. And those are valuable things to look at, even to be able to open ourselves up to that. Hey, actually, there are those people actually in our society already, and maybe we should be more open to them. I think that's a part of probably why people cherish someone like Le Guin, who is doing that so early, which is probably, you know, it's something that's probably matter of course now, but is was very revolutionary at the time. Glitches. Dragons freaking out midair, giants sending you sky high. What is a surprisingly funny or unexpected thing you found in a book? Okay, because I rack my brain. There's like, you know, you find bookmarks, you find notes, you find little dedications to people in your novels or in the books that you buy secondhand, because I buy a lot of secondhand books, but I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember any right now. So I'll go with just an unexpected. What I found unexpected in a book was Christopher Moore's Fluke, which is a funny book. It's got some hilarious scenes in it, and it changes genre in about the middle of the book. It just suddenly, it goes from being one type of book to being another type of book. And I won't spoil that surprise for people out there, but it's probably the mark of an inexperienced writer, or somebody who was really throwing things against the wall and maybe went a little too wild and crazy, or it seemed like it at the time, because I think otherwise Christopher Moore is a fairly commercial writer. He's not trying to do avant-garde experimental things. But in this case, he broke a genre rule, and it was like, it's like, it's not probably a fabulous book, but I kind of like that he broke a genre rule in there and how that messed with my head, and which might just show you exactly how I'm not, you know, I wasn't, especially at the time I was reading it, was probably not that developed of a reader, but it was just like that was a surprising glitch, and it felt like a glitch in the novel. So I'll take that for my glitches. Okay, and then I have to pick some unfortunate victims. I mean, I need to tag some people to do this tag, and of course, I run in super gamer communities, so I will tag people that I'm sure are basically every night plugging away on their video games, Skyrimming and World of Warcrafting, if you still do that. Dungeon and Dragoning? I used to do that as a teenager. 1 or 2 games. I don't know. That wasn't a video game at that point, though. So yes, I'm going to tag a couple of people so that they can either do the full green screen experience, or they can just take a look at the questions and see if they're interested. Or if not, here's some awesome people that you should all check out. Start off with the fearless leader of Cromwellathon, the one who's hosting the readings of the Hilary Mantel books of Thomas Cromwell. Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. I also tag Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, who might have some tangential connection to Jason, and I believe has her name written by Hilary Mantel at the front of a book series. So I guess she'll have to get on and read the entire series now to catch up with us all. I'll also tag Jen at Remembered Reads, Rachel Morrow, Roz at Scandy Dandling About the Books, who's also doing, who's been one of the contributors of the Cromwellathon. I'll tag Charles Heathcote because I pulled his book into this tag, and he is also an excellent YouTuber, which you should all check out, as well as checking out his excellent and very funny books. Too Tight, also tag Too Tight Lautrec and Rainy Day Reads. So yeah, feel free to do the tag or not do the tag. Perhaps immerse yourself in green screen technology. See, you could be as glowy green as I am, and have lots of fun. And yeah, at the end, I'd like to, thanks to Steve again, Steve Donoghue, for tagging me, and Deanie for inspiring me to go down this particular rabbit hole of green screen and discover exactly how important even lighting is, and that boy, you need a little bit bigger of a screen than the one I have here. I have a little square cardboard behind me. So more videos later, though probably not on green screen.